right now. Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome inside the Fan Cave. This is the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Bob Pompeani with you until 11 o'clock tonight, riding solo. So I'd love to hear from you. All you have to do is call the hotline number, which is 412-575-2600. You can also hit me up on Twitter /X at KDPomp. And love to hear, like I said, your thoughts about the weekend sports. We saw some interesting stuff develop. Paul Skeens had another very good outing today. Not as good as his previous ones, but good by normal standards. He gave up 2 runs in his first home run, but he also struck out 4. And it looked like that as he was leaving the field, he tipped his hat to the Indy crowd, basically saying, I'll see you, thanks for the opportunity here. He's had 7 starts, and you wonder if he'll be called up for the weekend coming up so he can pitch against the Chicago Cubs. Ben Cherington on his radio show today on 93.7 The Fan, which we're also on tonight, so if you're driving around, give us a call. But Cherington basically said we just continue to try to check boxes to make sure he has everything. The one thing he hasn't done is pitched on 4 days rest. He did this now. Pitch count's not exactly where he wanted to be, but come on, how many more boxes realistically does he need to check? He has been outstanding, and I would imagine he's going to be up here either this Friday, Saturday, pitch Saturday most likely if it's going to be on one extra day. So we'll see how it goes. They haven't made any announcements. Coming into town are the Anaheim Angels, another bad team. Pirates are a bad team right now too, but they took advantage of a worse team, Colorado, beat them today after they beat them last night on a walk-off in the bottom of the 9th inning in a scoreless game at the time. They lost on Friday night, but they took 2 of 3. Colorado still has not won a series all season long, which is surprising to see, but that's how bad as they are. Anaheim's 12-22. Mike Trout is out with an injury. So the bottom line is they're pretty much a bad baseball team. The Pirates need to take advantage of bad baseball teams. They did it at the beginning of the year with Miami and Washington. They did here with Colorado. They didn't do it with Oakland, and now they have an opportunity to do this before Chicago comes to town. And then you have some headbanging going on with people in your own division. If you can, take 2 out of 3 again from Anaheim, or maybe even better, all of a sudden you'll be right in the thick of things in this division, which is not very good right now. Milwaukee is on top, but they have flaws after that. You have Chicago head-to-head coming up this weekend. And then you have Cincinnati, which is a 500 or sub-500 team. So is St. Louis. If you look at it, 30 major league teams, 15 of them are at 500 or under 500. 18 are at 500. There's not a lot of good baseball going on, with the exception of the people you would expect, like the Dodgers potentially and the Braves. All right, we'll also talk about what happened with the Steelers this week. Najee Harris did not get a 5th-year option. How do you feel about that? To me, it's not all that big a deal, just given the fact that he's here this year, and he should be motivated for next. And if he is, he'll have a good year. And if he does, he can go elsewhere potentially, or the Steelers can still use a franchise tag. It may cost more, but maybe they just want to see what will happen when, he's forced to come up with a big year. They want to run the ball, which is why I was a little surprised they didn't pick up the option, only because in this offense, led by Arthur Smith now, he likes to run the football. And you have 2 guys in a very good complementary duo in Harris and Jaylen Warren. Why would you want to end that any time before the end of next year? But we'll see how this goes and what it means. Didn't expect it to happen for Justin Fields. He's too expensive at $25 million. That does not mean they may not be talking about an extension. And the same is true of Harris. If they really wanted to extend him, they could on friendlier terms than what a franchise would be, or friendlier than $6.7 million next year. That is yet to be determined. And I would imagine Omar Khan is still working on a wide receiver. They don't have enough in that room right now, but there's still a lot of time before the start of the season, as this week begins OTAs, organized team activities. Call us with your thoughts on all of this and more. We'll also get into the hockey, what happened, a lot of interesting Game 7s over the weekend. Mike Sullivan was forced to get rid of Todd Reardon, who still is a really good coach, I think, but is he a scapegoat or not? We'll talk about it, and I'd like to hear from you on that at 412-575-2600. We also have the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown tonight at 11:35. But now it's your turn to air your opinions. Right here live on KDKA Plus and 93.7 The Fan. It's the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. All right, this is our GMC Sierra tweet of the night. We're right here on the sports call. Comes from MLB Pipeline today. Paul Skeens, and what could be his last outing down there in Indianapolis, 4 1/3 Only 67 pitches. Thought he might get more. 4 strikeouts, 2 walks. He did give up 2 runs. But for the season down there, 45 strikeouts plus an 0.99 ERA. He's ready. He'd be a good 1-2 punch with Jared Jones the way he's going. We'll see if that happens this week. Got a lot of tweets. Panther Pride says, Bob, Oakland is not a horrible team. Okay, but they're 17 and 18. They're not a good team. But a lot of people fall into this situation. That's a team that, to me, was losing games. They went in there and they couldn't score a run. The Pirate offense has been to blame for a lot of this. Their pitching has been better than most people expected. I'm talking about starting pitching. They've wasted a lot of efforts there. So, all right, they're not horrible. Maybe I use that word, but horrible would describe Colorado. I think you would agree with that. Zach Williams on Twitter, at KD says, Pirates need to take a minimum of 2 or 3 against an awful Angels team. See, he said awful. There are a lot of awful baseball teams right now in the majors. I think that's not negotiable. But, you know, what normally happens is these teams are all clustered together. You're going to see separation happen in mid-May until early July. You'll see teams make a move, and those are the teams to watch. So the Pirates are still in a position where if they get hot here, but the question is, can they? Who will be hot? Their batting leaves a lot to be desired, and they have guys in their minors like Gonzalez, like Ji-Hwan Bae. They're hitting the ball pretty well. Even Jake Lamb, although he's a veteran who's been around. But at some point, you have to just get better production. It was good to see they got a 4 spot in the 6th inning today, and Cruz seems to be heating up a little bit as well. All right, let's go to the Lions, beginning with Jim in Greentree. Jim, welcome to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Hey, Bob, how you doing?
What's up?
Hey, listen, I got a question for you. The Pirates are plus 2,500 to win their division. Do you think that's a good idea to put a $200 bet on it?
No. I mean, if you want to, that's up to you. I don't really dabble in those kinds of things. They have too many things that need to change about this team, especially offensively, for me to make that bet, so no. Chuck in Uniontown joins us right now on line 1. Hello, Chuck. Welcome to the show.
Good evening and thanks. First of all, if Skeens comes up, who do you think goes out of the rotation? Is it Falter? Is it somebody else? Also, in the minor leagues, you think if it bring Ji-Hwan Bae up and put him in a leadoff spot, you think might sparks and things? Well, one other thing, is Josh Pelosi is still with the organization? You think he could be called up?
Yeah, he's a guy. He had a pretty good run last year when he was up here from the left-handed side of the bat, Chuck. I would think Bailey Falter would be it, although he's got a 3.43 ERA. He's not been or 4.3. It's not a bad ERA considering his first outing was awful. He's been relatively good since then. But if you have Skeens and him and Keller, certainly you're going to have Martin Perez, who I think is good, and Jared Jones. There's no room for him at this point. I do want to give some credit for Luis Ortiz, who's handled his role in the bullpen very well. I thought he was a very big portion of today's win. He came in for an inning and 2/3 and got them out of a jam. It could have been far worse to make the whole more than just a 3-0 deficit. Let's go to Matt and Butler. Hey, Matt, what's going on? Matt?
Bob, I got one question and one comment.
Sure.
Question, if I understand it right, they're saying, well, they had to send the catcher down because he had to focus so much on catching that he really lost his focus on hitting. Do you believe any part of that to be true? I just can't. But
I believe a little bit of it to be true, but I don't believe, I think he also, a lot of scrutiny here for Andy Haynes, their hitting coach, and it seems like those are the type of guys who lose their job before anyone else. We saw it with Todd Reardon, with Mike Sullivan. We saw it with Matt Canada, with Mike Tomlin. And it could very well be that Andy Haynes is going to be the guy, if there is need for a scapegoat or someone to blame, that would be it. All I know is that Henry Davis is not hitting. He has to figure it out. The most important part of his game is his bat. Forget where he plays. To me, if he gets his bat in order, then you make him a designated hitter if you don't want to play him in the outfield. If you're satisfied with the two that you have behind the plate right now, and Grandal and Joey Barton, you have Andy Rodriguez next year coming back from an injury, then find another place for him. All I know is that his bat needs to come to life, and if it does, he becomes a DH. The Pirates are getting no production from their DH or anyone else really on a consistent basis in that offensive lineup, maybe with the exception of Connor Joe on a consistent basis. So there's always room for a good bat, and that's what he has to focus on right now. Let's go to Kirk in Manor. Kirk joins us here on the fan hotline. What's up, Kirk?
Hey, Mr. Pompeani, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Just asking. Thank you. Wasting of Jared Jones' performance the other night was a shame. We cannot score any runs, and I think that's going to affect Paul Skeens when he comes up. I mean, are we going to continue not scoring runs?
Well, hopefully it can't get any worse. So Jared Jones, that was as good a performance as you can expect from anyone. 7 clean innings, 10 strikeouts, 1 hit allowed. They end up winning the game on the Sawinski hit in the bottom of the 9th, but I mean that was another potentially wasted effort there. I agree. It hasn't affected Jared Jones, and I don't think it'll affect Paul Skeens. If he just does his job, that's all he's asked to do. You know, you'd love to get hitting early in games to make it easier on your starting pitching. That's one thing that's been missing here. I think it would make life easier for people like Martin Perez, who also was involved in a scoreless game on Friday night before he gave up 3 in the top of the 6th. But it's a lot when you're pitching with absolutely no margin for error. I think you have to be almost perfect. And he was that night through 5. Just in the 6th inning, got in a little bit of a trouble spot. So, yeah, you need hitting. You got to get it together. That's going to be the key moving forward here. These guys have got to do better than what they've done so far. John joins us right now on line 2. What's up, John? How are you?
Hey, Bob, you are a Pittsburgh staple, and we love you, brother.
Thanks, John. I appreciate that. Thank you.
I just wanted to say, as far as Najee Harris, you can drop him like second period French. You can pick up a mid guy, let's say someone like Steel Chambers, and he'll fill the role as well as Najee would. Let him go. He's not worth the money. The Ohio State.
That would be next year. This year he is going to be there, and he's a very important part. You know, the thing I will tell you that in football, as you know, man, injuries happen to all spots. It's tough to maintain depth in today's NFL because of all the money you spend on your first-line players. If there's an injury, let's say next year, they have just Jalen Warren, they don't bring Najee Harris back, and they're still operating with a good run game that's working well, but then he gets hurt. You know, you can find yourself awfully thin there in a very short order. So I thought 6.7 was doable in today's NFL, but they thought differently, and they didn't do it. That doesn't mean he won't be back here. That doesn't mean he won't have a good year this year. In fact, if I'm him, I'm going to have the best year I've had ever. Work hard to get it, and then you can put yourself in the free agent market. Jim in Peters Township is our next caller. Hello, Jim.
How you doing, Bob?
Good. What's going on?
The way I look at the Pirates situation is, their hitting has been real bad until today, and but the way I see it, maybe different than most people, they only played in their division a little bit now. They're 2-2 against Milwaukee. They haven't played any of the other teams. Now they're going to play Chicago this week, and there's a lot of bad teams, as everyone knows, who've beaten up on So as long as their hitting picks up and they do well in the division, that's the key. And they have a chance this week with Cubs coming up. And, so what you said earlier is true. They're 4 games under 500, and they got 34 games. So we're not even a third of the way through the season yet.
Yeah, 16 and 19. If they win all 3, they'll be at 500, knocking on the door with them coming in. But again, you need consistent hitting. You need people like Reynolds to carry you for a while. Cruz is seemingly coming to life. Rowdy Tellez has not been good. We expect power. When they brought him in, that was the whole plan, power. And a short porch in right field. You expected Davis to be good. He has not been. Brian Hayes has 1 home run. He's got to do better than that. If you look in the outfield, Sawinski largely has struggled, and Michael A. Taylor is just a good defensive player. You got to have more than that, and they know that. They all know that. But somehow it's got to start turning around, and maybe against these teams like this, it will. It has to. 412-575-2600. That's the number to call. We'll take a short break. Come back with more here. If you want to get a call in before 11 o'clock, call 412-575-2600 right here on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. And we have this one from Bob Drozinski, who says they've played every terrible team. Sooner or later, they're going to have to play a good team. They will, and we'll see what they do against them. Chicago would be considered a good team, at least better than what we've seen. So, like I said, Anaheim's really struggled, and they don't have Mike Trout. Rob Polinsky, he says, Bob, Peter DeBoer, is he the new Mr. Game 7? And he is, the Dallas head coach who spent a lot of time in San Jose. Peter DeBoer won this Game 7 tonight. In his career in Game 7s as a coach, he is 8-0. That's a good one, Rob, and who would have thought that? But Dallas is a good team, and Dallas showed me a lot tonight because they were quick to the puck. They blocked a ton of shots, 24 block shots I checked. They also got a lot of good offensive zone play to keep the puck away from Vegas. Vegas just, I think that's a tough matchup. The first round to have these two teams go at it, the defending champs and the #1 seed this year, that's why I don't like the system the way it exists. I think it needs to change. We've talked about that before. And as far as the next matchup, now they have Colorado. Dallas and Colorado will be a heck of a game. Vancouver, Edmonton, also good. Vancouver has some problems in goal because Casey DeSmith got injured earlier. He's okay, but Demko, their starting goaltender, is still out. They have a young kid from Latvia who's played very well, is going to have to be in there against that very talented Edmonton team and that power play that's gone 50% so far in the postseason. So that's pretty much it. Well, how much time do we have left, Steve Banko, who's operating? A little over a minute. Okay, well, I can continue to filibuster then. And in doing so, I will talk about what went on in the Eastern Conference with the Rangers winning Game 1 against Carolina. Good game, good start. Zibanejad and their power play, man, and what a pickup Vincent Trocheck has been.